Hello again and welcome to another edition of
Thick Slices and Deep Cuts. So today we don't have any pizza. We have some CDs to show you.
That is correct.
And I lost my tooth today. I lost my bottom tooth.
Addie lost her first tooth today, so hopefully in the morning the tooth fairy will have arrived and she will be reimbursed for losing that first tooth. On today's show, we're doing an album ranking. I did one previously. It was for the Devin Townsend project. Today we're going to be covering a band that I really enjoy, Mastodon. So Mastodon is hard to categorize. I guess simply put, they're a heavy progressive band, but that does not sum them up.
And I have a game, and I'm going to have, and at my last game I have a pizza party.
Yeah, so Saturday she's got her last baseball game for now, and then we start fall ball. So.
And I'll have my pizza party.
There it is. Okay, so we're going to do the album rankings. I was hoping that my daughter would hold the CDs for us, but I think she's enjoying her Pringles, and at some point she's going to introduce the new Buffalo Ranch that we found. Okay.
And we found it at a new store which I never been in before.
Yeah. So Mastodon, I have all of their full lengths. So they have what I call eight full lengths. This first one, which I'll rank, eighth. So that I'll start with the bottom and go to the top to my favorite. The one I'm ranking last, some people might question, is this really a full length from them? But I consider it a full length, and that is at number 8. We've got Call of the Mastodon. So this, while it wasn't released until I think 2005, this is basically it's like a 33, 34 minute album of what they recorded in 2000. So this is really their first full album. It was not released on Relapse at the time. Relapse Records has since, released it. But this is coming in at the bottom, but this is not a bottom of the barrel album at all. This is a very cool album. Mastodon already kind of has their sound right out of the gate. This is probably the closest they get to death metal. Some of the vocals on here, especially by Troy, are just completely guttural, completely massive. This is pretty raw. Battle at Sea is probably my favorite track on here. Deep Sea Creature, the title track called the Mastodon. We Built This Come Death. Shadows That Move. This is actually a really cool album. So I'm ranking it last, and I'm already ranking it last and thinking about how I would like to listen to it now, because it is pretty cool. So they get their beginnings here. They already have their sound. It's kind of sludgy, closer to death metal. But you can already hear Bron Daler. He's an incredible drummer. You can already hear his drumming, and they're already using 2 vocalists. Later on, they would end up using 3. So at number 8, their first one, Call the Mastodon. Coming in at number 7.
And we have 2 CDs on this ottoman.
We do, yes, from another review. Coming in at number 7, this is their second release, and this is pretty much everybody's introduction to the band. So this is Remission from 2002. This is when I found out who they were. I was watching Headbangers Ball when it came back, and they had a video for a song called March of the Fire Ants, which I thought was just complete. I'd never heard anything quite like it. I guess that's what you call like down-tuned sludgy, but it was brutal, but it was progressive, and it was well thought out. And there's, after they get really heavy for about 2 minutes, then they go into this entire instrumental passage that's kind of complex, and the drumming from Bron was insane on it. And this album's very cool. I mean, it starts out, it's still super heavy, fairly related to the first one, but a Crusher Destroyer into March of the Fire Ants and Where Strides the Behemoth. But then you've got these chilled out tracks that are progressive, like Workhorse, like Old Nessie. I guess that's for the Loch Ness Monster. Trainwreck, Trilobite. I mean, those are 3 songs right there that are total, just drifty, longer tracks, kind of clean channely guitar. Just all kinds of good stuff on this. So again, I'm ranking it 7th and kind of wanting to listen to it, but this is that era of the band, just right out of the beginning. It's very raw, very heavy. Okay, so coming in at number 6, we get away from that early era of Mastodon and we go into when they were on a major label at this point. But I'm going to go with 2011's The Hunter. Again, I dig this album. I dig this a lot. It's one of their, this was their, if they have 8 releases, I guess this was their 6th release. So the first 2 have already been ranked, then we jump up to number 6. I like this album a lot. I think the only reason it comes in at number 6 is that the albums before it were so incredible that at some point you just cannot match. You can't hit a home run every time up at the plate. That said, while this does have a lot of songs that I don't really know what to do with, it also has my favorite song from them, which is called Stargasm. Also Dry Bone Valley, which has Bron, the drummer, on vocals. I love his voice. He's got like a young Ozzy Osbourne or something type of voice. It really works well. The song Thickening is great. So right there you've got 3 awesome tracks. Curl of the Burl is catchy. Spectralite, the title track, The Hunter. All kinds of good stuff on here. So while you might find yourself skipping around, I mean, there are 13 tracks on here, and I'm sure 7 or 8 of them are totally worth listening to. So again, solid album. It's coming in at number 6. Okay, here we are at number 5. Their most recent work, Emperor of Sand, from 2017. This has Brendan O'Brien on production. He's famous for, let's see, King's X, Stone Temple Pilots, bands like that. Some other big bands I can't think of, but he's a big-time producer. But he produced this. This is the second album he's produced by them. I do dig this album. It was tough for me to pick this over The Hunter because I feel like they're pretty much neck and neck. I think the difference there is while The Hunter had some songs you would skip, this one doesn't really have any songs you would skip. The Hunter had, the best songs on The Hunter are better than the best songs on here, but this is the better album overall. But this one, pretty much, well, it's track 2, but Show Yourself is a catchy one. It's like 3 minutes long. Precious Stones, Ancient Kingdom, Clandestiny has a weird John Carpenter-ish 80s horror movie type sound. Andromeda is cool. So a lot of good stuff, and they always have, can't think of his name off the top of my head, but the guy from Neurosis always guests on their album somewhere, and he guests on here as well. So it's a good album. It's coming in at number 5. Okay, number 4, 2014, Once More Round the Sun. I think a lot of people kind of gave this one a lower rating than the other recent ones. So the recent ones, in my opinion, are The Hunter 2011, this one from 2014, and Emperor of Sand. So from this previous decade. A lot of people give this one a lower rating because they thought it was more like classic, almost classic rock sounding, but I think it's still heavy. I think these songs are catchy. I think Tread Lightly comes out of the gate strong. I think The Motherlode is a classic song, and you should watch the video. It's hilarious. But The Motherlode is just jamming. It's heavy, it's groovy, it's catchy. Chimes at Midnight, probably my favorite song on here. Troy's bass tone on this album is incredible. Asleep in the Deep is great. Just totally proggy. I love the change up on the rhythms on that one. There's a song on here called Aunt Lisa, which is catchy and kind of got odd time signatures. And at the very end, I don't know who they got, but they got these gals to do some singing at the end where it's like roller derby cheerleader sound, but it really works great on that song. Ember City, I think there's a video for that. The song Halloween, the last track, Diamond in the Witch House, which has the guy from Neurosis on there. Also produced by Nick Raskulinix, if I'm pronouncing that right. He's done Foo Fighters, but he did the last 2 Rush albums. Again, so when they're not using Brendan O'Brien, they're using another famous producer. I dig this album. That's my number 4. Okay, now we're to the top 3. These top 3 were never in question. So the top 3 to me are standalone. In a discography of 8 albums, the bottom 2 kind of were in their place. The middle 3 from the last decade kind of were in their placing, and then now we got the top 3.
And we have 3 more CDs to show off.
Yes.
And we wanted to show off 8 And I can't wait for the Tooth Fairy to come and bring me money.
It's all about the money, isn't it?
I just know that.
All right, well let's keep it rolling here. At number 3, and what I would consider their first classic, 2004's Leviathan. This album's great. I mean, it just right out of the gate, Blood and Thunder, the opening riff before the drums even come stomping in with Bron Daler going ballistic on the snare. Blood and Thunder, I Am Ahab. It's not even 3 minutes long, and yet it's got this cool proggy thing towards the end. One of my favorite tracks of all time by them is called Sea Beast. There's a cool video for that. Aqua Dementia. The big track, they got a 13.5-minute track at the end called Hearts Alive, one of their best tracks, and that's followed by this chilled out outro called Joseph Merrick. But just, to me, this is their first classic. It's still, it's very, for being sludgy and raw and everything else, it's actually played, it's just very tight. It's very progressive. So in spite of all of the hectic, chaotic brutality, there's just this thread of like suddenly the guitars just break into this thing where two guitars are doing completely different things. The drummer's doing his thing. They've got multiple people doing vocals. It's just a very cool album. It's the logical next step. I guess a little surprising how much they advanced from the album before, which was Remission, but killer album. Just for the song Sea Beast and Hearts Alive alone. But, again, Blood and Thunder, I Am Ahab, Megalodon, Aqua Dementia, just awesome album.
And now we're on to 2.
Number 2.
Number 2 of the CDs. I'm just happy that my tooth came out.
You're very happy. You've been talking about it all day. And you should. That was a big moment. How are these?
Good.
That's a thumbs up? Okay.
And I think I'll give these Pringles.
They have the super hot chili and lime we'd never seen before, but we went with those instead.
Hey, Daddy, let me tell you.
In case you don't know, we collect Pringles. If we've never seen them before, we'll probably give them a shot.
And let me tell you one more thing.
Okay.
So I was talking about my tooth all day because and when I lost my tooth, it just fell in my bed and I told my dad and I drank some water in a cup, and now my tooth stopped bleeding, and now the
Show them. You're covering it up, but yeah. Okay. All right. Well, Addie, I'm going to finish
this. It's the bottom 2.
Yeah, I'm going to finish this ranking. Okay.
Can I hold the last 2?
If you can hold it close. So this is usually most people's number 1. Crack the Sky from 2009. Again, Brendan O'Brien's first time producing them. I was torn between ranking it number 1. Here, you can pull back a little. Because it's such a great album. Look at that album cover. Best album cover for sure.
Oh, sorry.
Daddy,
stop. Daddy,
here, hold it steady.
Let me tell you something first.
I'm going to talk about number 2.
Let me tell you something first.
What is that, Edison?
Somebody in here looks like He-Man or something.
Okay. All right, so I want to rank this number 1. No, that's for
I'm going to give you it.
So, Crack the Sky 2009, they completely shifted. This is their most progressive album by far. Bron Daler, the drummer, starts to do vocals. He's singing on the opening track Oblivion, which, again, one of their top 5 tracks. And The Czar is a great one. Ghost of Corellia. The title track, Crack the Sky, with a guy from Neurosis guesting on the vocals for that. The Last Baron, I think, is 13 minutes long. So it only has 7 songs, and Divinations is pretty short, but everything else on here is 5, 6, 7, 13 minutes long. Completely progged out, eerie, strange, the whole thing. Very experimental. But very cool. I don't know what else to say. It's pretty much I would say 4 out of 5 people would say this is their best album. I want to say it's their best album, but my number 1 album
is that one
is Blood Mountain. The shirt I'm wearing is from that era. But
hey, Daddy.
Yeah.
That looks like a.
It's crazy.
Looks like a reindeer.
It's a crazy cover, and
it reindeer.
Yeah.
It looks like a person reindeer.
This album to me is the
crazy
pinnacle of
ears.
what they started. They started with Call of the Mastodon, they did Remission, they did Leviathan, and then they get to Blood Mountain, and it's absolutely
Daddy, put the cover
technical,
back on.
heavy, progressive.
Put the cover.
It's just absolutely, you know, right out of the gate, the wolf is loose. Couldn't be more blitzing.
Daddy, put it
That's
back
all
on.
What are some of the other? Crystal Skulls, track 2. Sleeping Giant, there's an awesome video for that. That's a great song. Capillary and Crest might be my favorite song they've ever done. So, right out of the gate, the first 4 tracks are incredible. Track 5, Circle of Sasquatch. There is this weird vocoder thing right about a minute and a half into the song. Then you go into basically an instrumental track 6 called Blade Catcher. When you're out of that, you go into another catchy one that they got a video for called Colony of Birchmen. Then you got a heavy Hunters of the Sky, the catchy Hand of Stone, This Mortal Soil, and it wraps up with Siberian Divide and Pendulous Skin. Basically, this album is like 65 minutes of awesomeness. It's very brutal. It's very complicated. You need to sit down, Addie. We're finishing the review. I'm on to number 1. So this by far for me, you know, as much as I want to rank Crack the Sky number 1, this just is loaded with killer technical stuff. Somebody described it as Rush's 2112 meets Metallica's Master of Puppets. I understand what they're saying. This is its own thing. This is its own animal, its own beast. I've never heard anything quite like it. It's very original. It's very all over the place. Tons of cool, you know, vibes and sound effects and cool production, and just everything is strange but heavy but awesome. And I still love this album. This came out in 2006, but to me this is their number 1.
Daddy,
So
you should put the cover back on.
okay. So in review,
So that's all the CDs we have for today.
we got Blood Mountain at number 1. We got Crack the Sky at number 2. We got Leviathan at number 3.
This one, which we
Once More Around the Sun at 4.
we heard it.
Emperor of Sand at 5. The Hunter at 6. Remission at 7. And Call of the Mastodon rounding it out at number 8.
And
So there we go.
And here are the 2 that were sitting on the ottoman.
Yeah, that's from the previous review and what I was listening to earlier.
What's this one called again?
Well, thank you very much.
Hey, Daddy, what's this one called again?
Hopefully you were able to follow along there in spite of all the craziness. But thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time for another ranking. Until next time, see ya.
See ya.